Now, WWE was not the only company making big announcements this week. Tony Khan had another major announcement to make on Dynamite, one that he said he has dreamed of for years and said would be one of the most important announcements in AEW history. He is merging AEW with Bellator MMA. No, that's not it. No, he had Nigel McGuinness join him backstage. Nigel is officially All Elite now. He is the newest member of their broadcast team. Tony put over Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks as being visionaries for putting together the first All In event in 2018. That was the biggest independent wrestling show of all time. And now, 5 years later, on Sunday, August 27th, AEW makes its UK debut in London, England for the first ever AEW All In from Wembley Stadium. Now, the original Wembley Stadium, where SummerSlam took place with Bret Hart against the British Bulldog, that was demolished 20 years ago. The new Wembley Stadium opened on the site of the old one in 2007, which is where this show is going to be. It has a capacity of 90,000 people. Although there was an Ed Sheeran concert last year in that same stadium that did 100,000 people. Tickets go on sale to the public on May 5th. With a pre-sale happening on May 2nd, there were said to be upwards of 25,000 people trying to pre-register for that on the first day for early access. They are promoting the show around the 100th anniversary of the original Wembley Stadium and the 100th anniversary of Warner Brothers, who is their broadcast partner. I assume this is going to be a pay-per-view. I don't see how it wouldn't be, but there was no mention of it airing on pay-per-view. Nor did they mention it in the press release that they issued. But according to DAZN, the show is listed for a start time of 2 p.m. Eastern, or 7 o'clock British summertime, and is expected to last around 4 hours. So that is a pay-per-view. That is not a television special. Imagine this being 4 hours with picture-in-picture breaks every 10 minutes. Okay, so it's not going to be a TV special. But look, this is huge. This is an announcement that actually lived up to the billing. This is huge for AEW. This is Tony Khan swinging for the fences, is what this is. He got some criticism for not running a bigger building or a stadium for their Canadian debut last year. He's talked about wanting to run Craven Cottage in the UK for a show that would fit about 25,000 fans. That would have instantly sold out. Now he's being criticized for running too big of a venue. And no, I don't think that they're going to get 90,000 people inside Wembley Stadium, but I'm also not dumb enough to underestimate the UK fan base, and not even UK fans. I mean, they're going to have people from all over Europe, all over the world, flying in for this show. It's their first ever event in the UK. They would have been there a lot sooner, I'm sure, had it not been for the pandemic. I think they're going to get 50,000 people or more inside that stadium. I think between 50 and 60,000. Is my prediction. And some people said, told me on Twitter, you're underestimating it. It's going to be a lot higher. They're going to sell out. Well, we'll see. But that's my prediction. I would not be as confident if this was a stadium show in the US, like where the Jaguars play in Jacksonville, but those fans over there, they're starved for big shows. Whether it's WWE or AEW, they don't get as many big shows. They don't get as many stadium shows as we get over here. And with enough star power and the right attractions on the card, I think they could do 50 to 60. Now, apparently the next day is also what they call a bank holiday in the UK, which is a public holiday. That could help attendance a little bit. I've had a lot of people tweeting me, telling me that I'm still underestimating again, and it could sell out. But even 50,000 people inside Wembley Stadium, I think they can make it look great on television. Look, WWE runs more stadium shows now, and they don't even put all the sections on sale. You think they're selling most of these stadiums out? For WrestleMania, they might. But for SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble, they start low. They put maybe 30,000 tickets on sale, 30 to 40,000. And then as they sell, they add more seats. And maybe by the end, they have around 50 in the building. And it looks great. You would never know that in a stadium that maybe fits 75,000, they only have 50,000, right? It looks packed. I tweeted someone the other day, we were having a discussion about this. I said, if TNA can put 7,000 people, 7,000 people in the Alamo Dome for lockdown and make it look good, I think they curtained off the rest of the building. And I know Wembley is not exactly the same as the Alamo Dome, but point is, it's a very big building. And they had a very small number of people relative to the size of that building. But if they can do that and make it look good, AEW can make Wembley look good on TV. This is very ambitious because as far as we know, AEW is still running Chicago the following weekend for All Out. They have not confirmed that. I know Anthony Bowens on Twitter told somebody they were, but I didn't take that to be any sort of official confirmation from the company. They started doing All Out because they didn't have the rights to the All In name. Ring of Honor did. Well, now Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor, so he can use it. But All Out is one of their tentpole shows. I don't think they would just do away with it. I think that would be very stupid. Fightful, only a few weeks ago, was reporting that AEW was looking at running All Out from the United Center this year. That's bigger than the Now Arena in Chicago. Tony Khan did not wake up a week ago and decide to run Wembley Stadium. This had to be in the works for many, many months. So if they were considering running All Out at the United Center, then I take that to mean the show is still a go. But that's only a week after Wembley. Trying to put over, 80,000 people in that stadium and then another 15 to 20,000, let's say, at the United Center a week later, if they run there. And a few weeks after that, trying to put another 20,000 people back into Arthur Ashe Stadium for Grand Slam, because they're doing Grand Slam again in New York. That would be 3 huge shows, including 2 stadium shows in the span of 3 weeks. AEW has never done anything like this before. That would be a tough sell even for WWE, let alone for AEW. Anything over 20,000 would set their all-time attendance record. They did 20,000 in Arthur Ashe the first time. Anything above that would be a new record. 40,000 would be double their previous record. I'm predicting 50 to 60. It comes down to what's more important to Tony Khan. Is it more important to make as much money as possible? Or is it more important to get as many people as possible into that stadium? If making as much money as possible is the goal, then he's going to have to price those tickets accordingly based on demand. A lot of the people were horrified when tickets first went on sale for Clash at the Castle last year and how much they wanted for them. But if you do that, you price out a lot of people and you cut down on the attendance. If he wants more people there, he's going to have to sell tickets at reasonable prices and even discount them to fill those seats up. Tony Khan has ties to the UK through his father owning the Fulham Football Club, so he could tap into that fan base. Right? I'm sure he's got a lot of emails he could tap into there, offer ticket deals, try to pad the attendance that way if he wants to. I think that would actually be very smart of them to do. I think it's more important to make it look visually as full as possible on television. This is your first show there. It's a half-empty house that looks half-empty would not be good. This could be Tony Khan's WrestleMania 3. And like WrestleMania 3, he needs a big attraction, which is why I am convinced, now more than ever, that Tony is bringing back CM Punk. If he is trying to sell close to 90,000 tickets for this show, and then a week later, if they're still running a pay-per-view in Chicago, possibly at the United Center, then he wants CM Punk back before then. And if he gets him, Punk against Omega could be one of those big attractions on that show. If not Punk and Omega, what about Omega and Will Ospreay, Part 3? Let's say they do Omega Ospreay 2 at Forbidden Door. Ospreay wins. Now they're one apiece. They do the rubber match at Wembley, and it gets Will Ospreay a big match on a UK show. Kota Ibushi this week, he said that he has high interest in being on the All In card with Omega, the Bucks, and Hangman Page in some capacity. What about MJF? If this is replacing the Chicago show, they could do Punk against MJF at Wembley for the title. They could do Sting's farewell match on the card, since he has said he's retiring this year. What bigger way for him to go out than on a big stadium show? I hate to even bring his name up, but Bill Goldberg is a free agent. Tony Khan recently said he finds his name interesting. What about New Japan involvement in the show? This is only 2 months after Forbidden Door, but holy shit. Bryan Danielson against Okada, sign me up. Or getting Mercedes on the card for a match. In the spirit of the original All In, they could work with a lot of other promotions, not just New Japan, to bring talent in from all over the world. Like one big wrestling festival, WrestleFest. They could turn this into basically a WrestleFest. Talent from New Japan, from Impact, from Ring of Honor, from other promotions, local promotions. There's any number of things they could do to try to stack the card and try to attract as many people to fly in and come in and buy tickets for the show as possible. I'll tell you what, this makes the Drew McIntyre contract stuff a lot more interesting to follow. Without knowing what the actual end date is on his deal, for those who don't know, Drew McIntyre's contract is up later this year. Later can mean a lot of things. Later can mean December 31st. Later can mean sometime in the summer. So all it means is that his contract is not up right now. It's not up in the next couple of months. But PW Insider was the first to report last week that his contract is going to be up soon. And he has not reached any sort of agreement with WWE. In fact, they were said to be very far apart on terms for a new deal. Now there's talk, I think it was Wade Keller of The Torch who reported that McIntyre's been unhappy with money and creative. He missed television this week, said to be for either an illness or an injury. I don't think it has to do with him being unhappy. He didn't walk out or anything like that. But there's something going on with Drew McIntyre. And I would still be very surprised if WWE let him go and didn't give him what he felt he deserved. You know, so long as he's not being unreasonable. The guy's been a workhorse for them. You know, he is a big name for them to have on that roster. I still think the likelihood is he stays with WWE, but it's interesting timing. You know, there's talk about his contract being up soon and him being unhappy. Now AEW has announced this huge show at Wembley later in the summer. I'm not sure it's even going to be possible if he's still under contract for the rest of the year. But maybe a long shot. But again, think of all the strange shit that we've seen happen in wrestling in the last, 15 months or so. Anything is possible.